It seems to me that if gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and the transgendered should be protected by law because of their sexual orientation, so should Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll explain why on this episode of Vantage Point. Welcome to Vantage Point. I'm Gary DeMar, and I'm president of American Vision. And as you probably know by now, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the previous governor of California, is married to Maria Shriver. They have a number of children, I think 3 children. And it's been found that Arnold Schwarzenegger had a relationship with a woman living in their household as a housekeeper and has a child by this woman. The child is probably 10 to 13 years old, we're not really sure. And prior to coming to office, Arnold Schwarzenegger had quite a few illicit relationships. There was a great deal of news about this in the Los Angeles Times. And over the weekend, I've kind of been thinking about this, and I don't know why people are so upset about poor Arnie. I mean, look, so the guy's been sleeping around with other women. Maybe Arnold just has a particular sexual orientation. Maybe he's just a fornicator by nature. Now, we haven't really done any DNA study on this particular proclivity, but maybe we should. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger, like maybe so many other men and women, has a predisposition to sleeping around, for fathering children outside of wedlock. Maybe the same is true with someone like Bill Clinton or Tiger Woods. In fact, there was a study in the Los Angeles Times that seems to suggest this. It begins this way: Tiger Woods' mistresses, Arnold Schwarzenegger's secret child, Bill Clinton's sexual escapades in the Oval Office. Every case of a prominent man risking his family, career, and status for extramarital sex raises the question, what were they thinking? And this particular article goes on to say, well, maybe there is this predisposition to do this sort of behavior. Now, aren't we hearing the same thing about homosexuality? Aren't homosexuals and those who support homosexuals say, look, homosexuals, bisexuals, the transgendered, the multisexuals and so forth, they need to be protected by law because what they do is by nature. It's what they were born to do. And so there's no reason why we ought to have any laws prohibiting that because that's what they are by nature. Well, maybe the same is true of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Maybe there are people out there who just have this orientation towards this type of sexual behavior. And so if gays and lesbians and bisexuals and the transgendered should be protected by law, maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger should be protected by law as well. I mean, Maria Shriver may get half of Arnold Schwarzenegger's estate, close to $200 million. And I think that's a very hateful attitude to take. Arnold couldn't really help himself. This is what he is by nature. This was his orientation. We shouldn't take advantage of poor Arnie because this is what he is. These are the same arguments that are used by the homosexual community. Why should it be any different with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Well, I'll tell you the reason why. Is because there is no political group out there putting pressure on politicians to protect them as a class. You don't have adulterers and fornicators doing, fornication pride day. They don't have their own special flag that they put out. They don't have congressmen and senators in their hip pocket or judges as well. But I think we need to develop a political movement to help people like Arnold Schwarzenegger. This particular goes on by saying some amazing things. He says, the growing prominence of sexual behavior problems has prompted psychiatrists to consider creating a new type of mental disorder, hypersexual disorder, characterized by excessive and risky sexual behavior. It's being considered for inclusion in the next edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, called DSM-5, due out in 2013. So, I mean, we have mental health laws out there. People like Arnold Schwarzenegger have a mental disorder. They should be protected by the law. The way the press has been attacking Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Maria Shriver has gotten a lawyer to defend her, I just think this is a very hateful attitude to take. I mean, there are all types of people out there with mental disorders who are protected by law and who need our protection, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is in that same class as well. So we got two things going on here. We have Arnold Schwarzenegger, who should be protected because of the possibility this is his orientation, some sort of DNA anomaly. And on the other hand, we have a psychiatric organization saying that this was a mental disorder. This is something that happened to Arnold in his deepest, darkest past as a young person, and he has grown up with this. Either case, we shouldn't be so hard on Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, of course, I'm sure hopefully you know by now, I'm just kind of kidding about this. But this is the type of argumentation that the homosexuals have been using for a very, very long time. And I want to point out here is if there isn't a center line, if there isn't a foundational line to determine what's normal and abnormal, you're going to get this sort of crazy assessment of a person's behavior. Homosexuality is outside the norm of the straight line. There is a particular type of behavior, sexual behavior, that we know is normative, based upon biology, based upon anatomy, the way the body works. To go outside of that line is, in fact, to be abnormal. Abnormal morally and abnormal rationally. Same is true for someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Bill Clinton or Tiger Woods. There is a moral center line on all of this. They are outside that center line. Society and the courts want to bring people back to that center line. This psychiatric study would probably say there needs to be treatment involved in order to bring back people like Tiger Woods or Bill Clinton or Arnold Schwarzenegger back to that moral, normative center line. But when you try to do that with a homosexual movement, you're considered homophobic, you're considered to be a hater. And I'm saying there is no difference in that type of behavior. The moral center line is one man, one woman, heterosexual relationship. Anything outside of that line, adultery, fornication, is outside the moral and rational norm. The same thing with homosexuality. Anything outside the center line normative role of a heterosexual relationship is outside the moral and rational norm. Maybe this Arnold Schwarzenegger case and the rise of some sort of psychiatric basis for all this will bring people back to normalcy and rationality, and to begin to see that homosexuality does not fit either the moral or the rational norm.